What's good, YouTube? This video is going to be about double standards. I often hear about women complain about double standards. And while I understand it, and while there are a lot of double standards that we can't control, standards that are placed on us, there are in other times instances where we just are refusing to place the same level of standards on someone else, right? So when we hear about double standards, we're always hearing about men being able to do stuff and then women not being able to do it. Well, from a societal standpoint or a larger standpoint, those are all true and very unfair. But from the individual standpoint, every person creates the standards for themselves. So I don't understand sometimes why I hear women complain about double standards of maybe the conduct that a woman's supposed to display or the way a woman should act around men or with men, and in comparison to how men act and what men do. From a larger standpoint, if we're looking at the bigger picture, women definitely have to overcome a lot of double standards. But on the individual level, again, everybody creates a standard for themselves. So if you don't like a particular standard being waged against you, then go where that standard doesn't exist, or mirror that standard back to the person or the entity that's giving you the double standard. Women often feel pushed away by men for being a certain type, but the thing is, they themselves are accepting of that from men. So if you don't have a standard for men and they have a standard for you, is it a double standard? Is it really a double standard because you refuse to have standards? Or is it a double standard because it's unfair? Because the women create their own standards for the men they choose. If a man says, well, I don't want no woman who does thus and so, and it's something that men usually get away with, well, if you don't respect that activity, if you don't respect that type of man, then why would you then accept those men while still being held to a standard that you believe to be unfair? You get what you allow in your life. You pull the people in who you accept, and you push away the people you reject. And the same is happening to you and by you all day. People are pushing and pulling you in and out of their lives, and you are pushing and pulling people in and out of your lives. So you set the standards for the people in your circle, in your air, in your atmosphere, and in your life. So there should be no double standards. You can just as easily require the same type of conduct from a person or a man specifically that he will require from you. There's no double standard. If you take shit and he doesn't, it's not a double standard. It's you refusing to set a standard. There's a difference. Even when we hear about men can have sex with all the women they want and they're the man, and if a woman has sex with whoever she wants, she's a whore, right? That is the general concept from a societal view. That's what the society has done. But on an individual level, you can require a man to have control over his sexual desires. You can require a man to not whore around. You can require that men remember all their sexual partners or haven't had very many. You can just as easily say, I don't like these type of men. But most women don't. They refuse to set a standard for the man. And then when the man is upholding his own standards with them, they're like, oh, double standard. It's not a double standard. You get some standards and then you place them on the man's shoulders. And if he can't hold those standards, then you move on. On average, men do whatever women require them to do. I was telling somebody, listen, and I might have even said this in a live, if picking up trash was the hottest thing a guy could do, just go clean up your community and pick up trash and do good deeds, if that was like the thing that got men laid, then every guy would be running around here with like golden pickup sticks with diamonds on them, and they'd be picking up trash and helping old ladies across the street because that's what got men laid. But that's not what gets men laid. You know what gets men laid? Getting laid. And then women talking about how they got laid. And so a guy will get a reputation that precedes him for being very good at laying women down, and somehow or another women are attracted to that. That's not a double standard because women create the standard for what's required to be with them. Just like you don't have to listen to or live your life based on what society places on you, you do not have to select your partners based on what society tells them you should be, right? You can think outside the box. You can date different types of men who have different types of standards on an individual level. So like I said, men do whatever women require. If men were required to have 9-to-5 jobs, and if you sold drugs or did anything illegal at all, you wouldn't get none. And then all guys would have jobs, and all guys would be doing decent 9 to 5 work instead of, being criminals for work, because again, it wouldn't entice women. Women oftentimes have an extremely liquid and fluid and just open idea for the things that are allowed in their lives as compared to men. Men are very specific and particular, and they stick to those things because they're always protecting themselves. They're always analyzing threats. They have a protection instinct that doesn't go away. Unlike women have a protection instinct, but they'll put it down if they like a guy. Guys hardly ever really put their protective instincts down, right? So they are more likely to keep the standards that they have for whoever they encounter, and women just aren't. Women are slow to set standards for a guy, especially once she starts to like him. And then women are taught, because society has standards for women and different standards for men, that maybe they shouldn't have any standards for men. So they accept any kind of treatment, any kind of conduct from a man, and then they complain about the double standard when they could actually mirror that standard back to that man. On large scale, men do whatever it takes to get women. That's why men all want to make a lot of money, because women like men who make a lot of money. Men like to wear nice cologne because women like men who wear nice cologne. Men go get haircuts and get beautified in different ways now. They even put makeup in their beards and shit just because women like it. They do whatever is required to get the woman, or to get many women. The problem is, too many women have too little standards for the conduct and the character and the integrity of a man. And then they complain that they still have to have conduct and character and integrity intact for a man to accept them. It goes both ways. It's a two-way street. Two can play at that game. Two can have standards. You too can say, I don't want you because you're a whore. You too can say, you're too loose and you don't care about people. You don't have any control over that thing in your pants. You can say those things too, but you don't. If enough women have standards, then guess what? The standard of men rises, because they, again, will do anything that it takes to keep getting sex. In this new age of dating, the strength of a man's shoulders is not being tested in the way it used to be. With responsibility and standards and integrity and all of the things that men were required to have at one point seem to be gone now. Men are almost without any standards being placed on them, and women still have every standard that started from the time, of Noah. So on an individual level, that's how you change the double standards in your life. But on a grand scale, if enough women did this, then the standard of men would change, because again, men do what women require on large scale to have sex and to be with them in certain ways. So of course, it's not women's fault that men have no standards for themselves in many cases in circles and ecosystems, but women do have an effect on the standards that men do place on themselves. And so you have to start there. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Yes, that means have standards for yourself, but also require the change you wish to see in the world by having standards for your partner. That's all I got for now. Follow me at KidFig24 on Instagram. I'll get with y'all later.